Welcome to studyhigh.pk and subscribe keeping contact for more videos and lectures. Today I am going to start the next lecture, lecture 11 of chapter Heart, Medical Physiology. In this lecture, we will discuss we are going to start discussing the different types of abnormalities related to our cardiac muscles. Two important and very basic abnormalities of our cardiac muscles are left and right axis deviation. Their causes hypertrophy of left or right ventricle, Purkinje bundle block. You will understand these important concepts after completion of my discussion on this lecture. And all the basic mechanisms I have explained in detail in the previous 5 parts of interpretation of ECD: chest leads, bipolar limb leads, their arrangement, working, QRS vector, and significance of QRS vector, how you can derive a QRS vector from a given electrocardiograph. Now we are going to discuss left and right axis deviation of QRS vector, hypertrophy of ventricles, and different types of block that are possible in are normal are in common in different types of heart patients. Before start discussing our lecture 6 of interpretation of ACD, first of all three important basic concepts about which you must know. If this is your heart and these are your ventricles, and you know that our heart start depolarizing, and the interventricular septum depolarizes and carries negative charges, and QRS waves start forming. And another important thing that you must know, our QRS wave will continue to form. First in negative direction Q wave. Why Q wave form I have explained in previous lecture. Then R wave and S wave forms when the due to the base of because the base of left ventricle depolarizes at the loss. That's why we also obtain S wave. So until all of our ventricular muscles are not polarized, QRS wave will continue to form. So when QRS wave will be completed, when all the muscles of our ventricle, if these are our ventricles, when all the muscles of our ventricle are in depolarized form, then our QRS wave will be completed. If a small area of our cardiac muscle is remain in polarized form, then the QRS will continue to form. So for the completion of our QRS, the necessary condition is that all our ventricular muscles should be depolarized. Then it touches the horizontal line, which means that our QRS complex has been ended. So first thing that you must know is that our QRS wave start forming when depolarization of ventricles just started, and it ends when all the muscles of ventricles are in depolarized form. I just want to inform you in another way. If this is our right and left ventricles, it is all its cardiac muscle are in resting phase in depolarized form, in polarized form. So no current will be recorded or no potential will be recorded by our electrocardiograph electrodes, because all our ventricular muscles are in polarized form, and I have explained you in detail. Our electrocardiography meters only record when some area is in polarized form and some in depolarized form. So in this condition, when all ventricles are in polarized form, then our QRS is touches to 0. There is no QRS value in our second heart, in which depolarization is just started. If depolarization is just started because of movement of or because of entering of action potential from AV node. They just started. Then first we obtain Q wave. Then it will start moving towards the positive side. R wave, Q wave, R wave, and then S wave at the end. And why we obtain Q wave, S wave, I have explained in previous lecture. So when ventricles start depolarizing, we QRS wave start forming, it touches to zero when all the ventricles are in a depolarized form. All contain negative charges. So QRS wave started when all ventricular muscles are positive charges or in polarized form. It ends when all ventricular muscles are in depolarized form. So simply in another word, QRS wave is the interval of time between the depolarization between the repolarized ventricles and depolarized ventricles. So this is the first thing that you must know if you want to understand our today's lecture. And second important concept that you must know about our ventricle is that the normal value of QRS is 0.06 to 0.08 second. And I have explained what are the normal voltage values for P wave, QRS and T wave in first lecture of interpretation of ECG. This is normal electrocardiography and it is QRS wave. And I have explained in the first lecture that the normal value for QRS is 0.06 to 0.08 and one small box in horizontal direction is equal to 0.04. So the QRS vector should be completed between the approximately two small boxes, and maximum limit for is 0.010. So in normal conditions, QRS should be completed between 2.5 boxes. So just assume what will happen if the size of ventricle on this side, left ventricle, is increased. First, when action potential has enters into our cardiac muscles from this section, from AV node, it has to depolarize this part of the ventricle, and its normal QRS vector is in this direction approximately 59 degree. Whereas when the size of the ventricle is increased, as you can see, so it also carries positive charges. When the size of ventricle or left ventricle increase or enlarges, then the QRS vector will be deviated towards this direction because of more negative charges on the left side. In normal conditions, the action potential has to transfer from our artery to ventricle and to depolarize this area. Now the area that it has to depolarize is increased. Now our IV node and our ventricle also has to depolarize this area. As a result, the duration of QRS will be increased when the size of left ventricle or the size of right ventricle increases or enlarges. So this is the third important thing that you must know, that increase in size of ventricular muscle results in prolongation of QRS. If the normal value of QRS complex is 0.06 to 0.08, then because of increase in whether left ventricle or increase in size of right ventricle will results in elongation of normal value of QRS to 0.012 or maybe more according to the different type of diseases, and maybe between 0.12 to 0.16 second. So increase in size of ventricles results in prolongation of QRS complex. So if on electrocardiograph the QRS value or the QRS complex prolongates, there is some disease in our heart and we have to diagnose which type of disease. And second important thing, if the left ventricle increases in size, it also results in deviation of the normal QRS vector to the left ventricle because it also contains positive charges and increase in size, then our QRS vector will be deviated to this increased area, whereas normal QRS vector is along 59 to 58 degree. If the size of left ventricle or if the size of right ventricle increases and left ventricle remains same, then the QRS vector will be deviated in this direction. We will discuss in this lecture in detail how you can diagnose that whether QRS vector is diagnosed towards the left ventricle or right ventricle from a given electrocardiography. First, these three important concepts you must know if you want to understand today's lecture. The QRS wave completed when all ventricle muscles are depolarized. This is the necessary condition. If any small part of the ventricle remain polarized, QRS wave will continue to form. When all the ventricle muscles depolarizes, then our QRS will touch the zero horizontal line. When it touches the zero line, it means that our QRS complex has been completed. Second, you must know the normal value of QRS, and when the size of ventricle increases, the muscle size increases, results in prolongation of QRS complex. Another important concept that I have also revised in previous lecture is that if this is your heart, this is a cardiac muscle, it consists of arteria. What is the velocity of impulses that travel in arteria and ventricles? You must know in arteria, first it moves from SA node towards the different parts of cardiac muscle, right atrium, and then towards the left atrium. The speed of the impulses that travel in the arteria is 0.3 to 0.5 second, 5 meter per second. This is the speed 0.3 to 0.5 meter per second. Whereas our ventricles consist of Purkinje fibers, Purkinje bundles. If this is the Purkinje bundle that travels towards the right atrium, right ventricle, and other Purkinje fiber that travel towards the left atrium, they have large gap junctions, large size. As a result, the speed of conduction in these ventricle Purkinje fibers, and Purkinje fibers are only present in ventricles. These does not present in atrium. If the speed of cardiac impulses in Purkinje fiber is between 1.5 meter per second to 4 meter per second. So it is very large as compared to our arterial muscles. So this is 1.5 meter per second to 4 meter per second. Whereas the speed of conduction of impulses in arteria is between 0.3 to 0.5 meter per second. You must also remember the speed. And when there is a blockage of Purkinje fiber, then the conduction of impulses to the side where the Purkinje fiber has been blocked will be very low as compared to other side. If this is a ventricle, right ventricle, left ventricle, and these are Purkinje fibers, right bundle branch and left Purkinje bundle branch, and they are conducting at the speed of 3 meter per second, so that both ventricles contract simultaneously and pump blood into pulmonary and other circulation, systematic circulation. If there is a blockage in left Purkinje bundle branch, what will happen? The area of right ventricle will depolarize normally because its Purkinje bundle branch is conducting at the speed of 3 meter per second. So it depolarizes first, like normally it depolarizes, whereas the area that is present in left ventricle will still in polarized form because there is a blockage of left bundle Purkinje fiber. Now the ventricle muscles are conducting at the rate of 0.3 to 0.5 meter per second, like atrium, because Purkinje fibers are not working in left ventricle. As a result, this side of the right ventricle is contain negative charges, whereas this side of the left ventricle contain positive charges. And I have explained in detail that the QRS vector is directed from the negative towards the positive. As a result, the QRS vector from this negative will be directed towards the positive side. So it deviated from the, whereas normal QRS vector is in 59 degree. In case of blockage of Purkinje fiber, it may be deviated in this direction or in this direction. If left Purkinje bundle branch blocks, then it will be deviated towards the left side. If there is a right bundle branch blockage, then it will be deviated towards the right side. So this, you must know what is the speed of conduction of Purkinje fiber, and in arterial muscles what will happen if any Purkinje bundle branch blocks. It means that if this Purkinje bundle branch, a blockage exists in this branch, then this ventricle conducts at the speed of 0.3 to 0.5 meter per second. Like atrium and other side, right ventricle is conducting impulses normally and it depolarizes first, whereas left ventricle still require time for complete depolarization. As a result, as the duration of completion of complete depolarization of ventricular muscle also elongates, QRS complex also elongates in this condition because the time required for complete depolarization of left and right ventricle also increases because of blockage of Purkinje fiber. So now I am going to explain you the lecture left and right axis, deviation, different type of conditions, hypertrophy, what are the possible causes of hypertrophy of ventricles. First, I want to inform you there are two types of axis deviation, left axis deviation and right axis deviation. As you know, the normal QRS vector is at the angle of 59 degree from the zero axis of lead 1. It may be deviated towards the left, like this is the left axis deviation, or it may be deviated in this direction depending on the condition of different types of abnormalities. In right axis deviation, it deviated towards the right side and it may result in deviation like this and like this. So there are two types of axis deviation, left axis deviation and right axis deviation, whereas the normal angle of our QRS vector is 58 to 59 degree. There are two important causes of left axis deviation that you must know. One is left Purkinje bundle branch, blockage of left Purkinje bundle branch. Likewise, there are two possible causes of right axis deviation. One is right bundle branch blockage and second is hypertrophy of right ventricle. I will explain in detail how you can differentiate between these two left axis deviation. Whether left axis deviation is because of hypertrophy of left ventricle or whether left axis deviation is because of blockage of left bundle branch of Purkinje fibers. Likewise, I will also explain you how you can diagnose that whether the right axis deviation of QRS vector is because of blockage of right bundle branch or because of blockage of hypertrophy of right ventricle. These two important parameters will help you in diagnosis whether a left axis deviation is because of hypertrophy of left ventricle or because of blockage of left bundle branch. If left axis deviation is because of hypertrophy, then the prolongation, the duration of QRS will be between 0.12 second and 0.8 second. If the left axis deviation is because of the left bundle branch, blockage of bundle branch of Purkinje fibers, then the duration of QRS will be more than 0.12 second. It may be between 0.14 second, 0.15 second. So the duration of QRS will help you in diagnosis whether the left axis deviation is because of blockage or because of hypertrophy. And same is true for the blockage of right bundle branch of Purkinje fibers and hypertrophy of right ventricle. If there is a hypertrophy of right ventricle, then the QRS will elongate between 0.08 second to 0.12 second. If it is because of blockage of right bundle branch, then the QRS prolongation will be more than 0.12 second, in 0.14 second, maybe 0.15 second. The possible and the major cause of hypertrophy of left and right ventricle is the aortic or pulmonary valve stenosis. As you know that our heart consists of two ventricles, right ventricle and left ventricle. Right ventricle pump blood through semilunar valve, pulmonary valve into the pulmonary circulation, whereas the left ventricle pump blood into the systematic circulation through aorta, and the base of aorta consists of a valve, and this valve is called aortic valve, that is also semilunar valve. In some diseases, some abnormalities, there is narrowing of this valve. As a result, the left ventricle has to apply or has to contract with a greater force so that it can pump blood to the aorta and different types of tissues or peripheral blood vessels, etc. When ventricle has to contract with a large force, its muscle size has been increased and it results in hypertrophy. Hypertrophy, more muscle mass. Like when you go to gym, you perform gym and your muscles work hard. As a result, the size of your muscle increases. Likewise, when the heart ventricles undergo great contractions or contract with a greater force, then there is a hypertrophy of our ventricles. Sometimes what will happen, our aortic valve are totally dysfunctional. As a result, when left ventricle pump blood into the aorta through the aortic valve and the blood again come back into the left ventricle. As a result, the end systolic volume increases. In normal cases, the end systolic volume is 50 milliliter, whereas in case of abnormality or dysfunctioning of the aortic valve, blood again move back from the aorta into the left ventricle. As a result, more blood accumulate and the systolic volume of our heart will be increases according to Frank Stalling mechanism. Our left ventricle will contract with a greater force. As a result, when it continue to contract with a large force, the size of left ventricle will increases. So these are the possible causes of hypertrophy of left or right ventricle. Now this is an electrocardiograph. You have to determine what type of deviation the patient is suffering from and what is the possible cause or what is the possible abnormality of our cardiac muscle. Now you have to apply the rules that I have explained you in previous 5 lectures. The first, the most basic thing that you have to apply in any type of diagnosis is to find the QRS vector from the given leads. These are the three electrocardiography recording paper leads: lead 1, lead 2, lead 3. First we will find the resultant QRS vector. For drawing the resultant QRS vector for diagnosis of the electrocardiography, first you must know about the axis of our electrocardiographic leads. This is lead 1, negative terminal, positive terminal. This is lead 3. This is negative terminal, positive terminal. And this is the axis of lead 2, negative terminal, positive terminal. I do not want to talk about these axes as I have explained in very detail in previous lectures of lead 1, lead 2, chest leads, bipolar limb leads, etc. This is lead 1, and first you know what is the potential of lead 1. It is deflected towards the positive potential, and how much boxes it covers in the upward direction. It covers 1, 2, 3 large boxes and approximately 2 small boxes. So in elongated in a vertical direction towards the positive side, it covers 1, 2, 3, and 2 large boxes is equal to 1 millivolt and 1 large box is equal to 0.5 millivolt. So Total in positive direction, it covers the distance approximately 1.7 millivolt. You can estimate because one small box is equal to 0.1 millivolt, and total 3 large boxes. 3 large boxes means it covers a distance of 1.5 millivolt, and 2 small boxes, it means that the total distance covered by the QRS vector in positive direction is 1.7 millivolt, whereas it also covers one small box in negative direction, and one small box is equal to 0.1 millivolt. So the total voltage that can be derived from this lead 1 is 1.6 millivolt, and 1.6 milliwatt, and in what direction? In positive direction. Now we will place this interpretation from this electrocardiograph on our axis of our limb leads. First, you have to calibrate these leads. Like this is the zero central point. This is 1 millivolt. Just assume this is 1 millivolt, and this is 2 millivolt. And the distance covered by our QRS vector on lead 1 is 1 point. This is 1 millivolt is 1.6 millivolt. Approximately this is the distance that is covered by the QRS vector in positive direction. So we draw this vector towards the positive side. That's why here is the positive terminal of lead 1, and the vector that is drawing is towards the positive side of the lead 1. So this is the resultant vector that is given or we have derived from the lead 1 of electrocardiograph to calculate our QRS vector. Now we will discuss this vector. We will derive the vector for lead 2. This is lead 2, and as it is also deflected towards the positive side. And whom by distance it covers? It covers approximately 2 large boxes, and 1 large box is equal to 0.5 millivolt, and 2 large boxes is equal to 1 millivolt. Distance is covered by lead 2 in vertical direction, whereas it also covers one small box in the downward negative direction. So 0.1 millivolt is also covered by this in downward direction. After subtracting 1 from 0.1, we obtain 0.9 millivolt. And in what direction? Lead 2 is giving the resultant vector in the positive direction. So positive 0.9 millivolt. Now we are going to draw this on the axis of lead 2. If this is 1 millivolt and this is the axis of lead 2, and you must know that we have obtained positive deflection of 0.9 millivolt. So we will draw our resultant vector on lead 2 approximately here. This is 0 point that covers the distance of 0.9 millivolt. Now we have to discover the vector that is given by our electrocardiography on lead 1, on lead 3. This is the lead 3. Then we will determine what is the resultant vector, what is the QRS vector potential, and whether it is deviated towards the right or whether it deviated towards the left. This is the electrocardiography of lead 3, and it deviated towards the negative side, and it also covers the 3 large boxes, and the distance covered by this lead towards the negative potential is 1.5 millivolt, and it is towards the negative side, 1.5 minus, whereas the distance it covers towards the positive side is approximately 4 small boxes, 1 2 3 4, and we will subtract 0.4 from this. We obtain positive 0.4 and negative 1.5 millivolt. When we add these two, we obtain minus 1.1 millivolt in negative direction. So this is the resultant vector from that we derive from lead 3. Now we have to place this on the axis of lead 3 to determine the resultant QRS vector. If this is 1 millivolt, the distance covered by the resultant QRS vector in the horizontal on the axis of lead 3 is towards the negative and 1.1 millivolt. So total resultant QRS vector of lead 3 is towards the negative pole, negative electrode, because we obtain minus 1.1 milliwatt. So these three vectors we have derived from the given electrocardiography. Now we have to find the resultant QRS vector. How you can find the resultant QRS vector? You have to draw the perpendiculars on the axis of these resultant leads. We have to draw the perpendicular on this side, perpendicular on the axis of lead 2, perpendicular on the axis of lead 3. Here, as you can see, I have drawn a perpendicular on the arrowhead of the resultant vector that we obtain on lead 1. And now I have to draw the same along perpendicular vector on the arrowhead of the vector that we obtain or derive from the electrocardiography on lead 3. This is the resultant vector that I have projected or draw on the axis of lead 3, that is the arrowhead of this, and also crosses the perpendicular of lead 1. Now I have to draw a perpendicular on lead 2 as well. Now I have drawn the three perpendiculars on the arrowheads of the resultant vector that we obtained from the given electrocardiography. And as you can see, all these are meeting at this point. So this point, the meeting point of all the perpendiculars of the three leads, is the resultant QRS vector. So this is the direction that we obtained of QRS vector. It means that this QRS vector is abnormal, because the normal direction of QRS vector is this 58 to 59 degree, whereas no, it is deviated towards the left side. As a result, as it has deviated towards the left side, now it means that left axis deviation. And what is the cause of left axis deviation? It may be due to hypertrophy or due to Purkinje fibers. And as you know, I have explained you in detail that if this hyper is because of hypertrophy, then the QRS duration of QRS vector will be between 0.12. If this is because of Purkinje bundle branch, blockage of bundle branch, then this deviation will be due to the elongation of QRS vector. If this is due to the block, then the QRS vector will be elongated beyond 0.14 second. To calculate whether this deviation is because of blockage of left bundle branch, or because of blockage of bundle branch, or because of hypertrophy of left ventricle, we are going to calculate the duration of QRS complex. This is the duration of QRS complex, and as you can see, it covers three small boxes, and one small box is equal to 0.04, and in almost all cases it covers three small boxes. As you can see here, it also started from here and there. Three small boxes are almost covered by the QRS complex. In this condition, also three small boxes, 1 2 3. So we multiply it by 3, and the resultant that we obtain is 0.12. It means that the prolongation of QRS complex is not much greater. So it is between 0.08 to 0.12. So it is due to the hypertrophy of left ventricle. And why hypertrophy occurs? Maybe due to the aortic valve stenosis. The aortic valve that is present at the base of aorta may narrow, may it is not working properly, and other causes may also cause the hypertrophy of left ventricle. That's why in our heart, left ventricle elongates or increases in size, and it remains positive. That's why QRS wave also elongated a little of one box, covering one small box more than normal conditions, and our resultant QRS vector has been deviated towards the left side. From the given ECG, now you have interpreted that this is the patient is suffering from left axis deviation, and you have also interpreted that the patient is suffering from hypertrophy of left ventricle. not a blockage. Now we are going to solve another electrocardiography. I hope you have understand how you can determine the resultant QRS vector from any type of electrocardiography. And after determination of the resultant QRS vector, you can easily interpret whether it is deviated towards the left side or whether it is deviated towards the right side, and what are the possible different types of abnormalities, whether the patient is suffering from hypertrophy, whether the patient is suffering from the bundle branch. Now we are going to solve another electrocardiograph. So till now I have explained you the left axis deviation and how you can, and you have diagnosed from a electrocardiographic paper recording that the patient is suffering from left axis deviation, and you have also interpreted that the patient is suffering from hypertrophy of left ventricle, because in hypertrophy the elongation of QRS complex is between 0.08 to 0.12 second. So second important thing that you must also remember, in left axis deviation due to hypertrophy, the maximum deviation is this, whereas in case of blockage of bundle branch, the our QRS vector deviated more than normal. It deviated like this, whereas the normal QRS vector of our left ventricle is this of our ventricle, whereas in case of left bundle branch blockage of Purkinje fiber, we obtain like this, whereas in hypertrophy we obtain QRS vector potential vector like this. This is another difference that help you in diagnosis whether a patient is suffering from the block or whether the patient is suffering from the hypertrophy. Now we are going to discuss another electrocardiograph. Now you have to understand how you have, what the first process you have to do. This is lead 1, lead 2 and lead 3. The first thing, you have to determine the resultant QRS vector. And how you can determine the resultant QRS vector? First, see here, this is the QRS complex. And in lead 1, it covers approximately 1, 2, 3. 3 large boxes in the positive direction, and almost no large and no box it covers in downward direction. So in lead 1 it covers the distance approximately 1.5 millivolt, whereas in lead 2 it covers approximately 1, 2, 3, 4 4 small boxes in horizontal, in vertical direction, and it covers approximately 6, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 6 small boxes in the vertical negative direction. So in the positive side it gives us a value of approximately 0.4 millivolt. In the plus, whereas in the negative direction it covers a distance of 0.6. So in negative side it covers approximately 0.6 to 0.7, as in the next lead you can see. So in negative it covers 0.6 approximately and positive 0.4. The resultant that we obtain from lead 2 is minus 0.2. Whereas in case of lead 3, it covers approximately 4 large boxes, as you can see. It covers the distance of 4 large boxes in the downward direction. We are discussing QRS complex. This is QRS complex and it covers no small box in positive direction. So the total QRS complex vector that is given by the lead 3 of electrocardiograph is approximately 2 millivolt, and 2 millivolt and all in negative direction, negative 2 millivolt. Now we have to derive from these values our resultant QRS vector. These are the values of lead 1 plus 1.5 millivolt, of lead 2 minus 0.2 millivolt, and lead 3 minus 2 millivolt that we obtain from our electrocardiography recording paper. Lead 1 give us 1.5 millivolt in positive direction, lead 2 give us minus 0.2 millivolt in negative direction, lead 3 give us minus 2 millivolt in negative direction. This is axis of lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, and we have calibrated this is 1 millivolt and this is 2 millivolt. And according to our electrocardiography recording paper, lead 1 will record plus 1.5 millivolt. So it will record in the positive axis, not on the negative, and 1.5 between 1 and 2 millivolt. This is the recording by lead 1, whereas lead 2 records minus 0.2 millivolt. This is the 0 point, this is the minus 1 millivolt of lead 2, and it will record only 0.2 millivolt. This is the arrowhead of lead 2. Magnitude is very low. Minus 0.2 millivolt will be recorded in the negative direction towards the negative pole of lead 2, whereas lead 3 records minus 2 millivolt, a very large amount. This will be recorded by lead 3. Now you have obtained our arrowheads on 3 axes of lead 1, lead 2, lead 3. Axis lead 1 here, as you can see, on lead 2 minus 0.2 millivolt, as we have obtained from the given electrocardiography. On lead 3 minus 0.2 millivolt. Now the next process, we have to draw the perpendiculars on the axis that must pass through the arrowhead of our given lead 1, lead 2, lead 3 calculations. Here is the perpendicular axis drawn on the lead 1 that must pass through the arrowhead of our calculated 1.5 millivolt voltage vector. And now I have drawn a second perpendicular vector that is passing through the lead 3, and third vector we must draw that must pass through this arrowhead of lead 2, that is 0.2 millivolt. It shows that all the perpendiculars are meeting at this point, as you can see. Now we have to draw the resultant QRS vector from the 0 point to the meeting of all these perpendiculars that are drawn on the vectors given by our electrocardiographic recording paper. This is the possible resultant QRS vector that is obtained from the given electrocardiography. As a result, you can see it is deviated more than the vector that we obtained from the because of hypertrophy of hypertrophy of left ventricle. It deviates more. So it resembles that as it is deviated much more as compared to the hypertrophy left ventricle. It shows that it may be due to the blockage of some branches of Purkinje fibers. That's why it deviates much more as compared to the deviation that is caused by the hypertrophy of left ventricle. First thing is confirmed that left axis deviation occurs, whereas normal QRS complex is in the direction of 59 to 59 degree, whereas this has been deviated approximately to the left side to a large extent. So left axis deviation has been occurred, and I have tell you there are two possibilities of left axis deviation. One is it may be due to hypertrophy, and second is maybe due to bundle blockage of branch of Purkinje fiber. And as it deviated much more, it resembles that there may be a block of our Purkinje fiber. Now, how you can complete our interpretation? As I have explained you initially, if this blockage is because of hypertrophy, the duration of QRS will be between 0.08 to 0.12 second. If this is due to the blockage of Purkinje fibers branches, then the duration may be much more than the 0.12 and between 0.16. So let's confirm what is the cause of this left axis deviation. As I have tell you in previous lectures that in this lecture as well, the normal duration of QRS is 0.06 to 0.8. So 0.8 is just equal to approximately 2 small boxes. Whereas as you can see in this figure, the small boxes our QRS complex is covering is 1 small box, 2 approximately 5 small boxes are covered by our QRS complex, whereas in normal conditions it covers only 2. No 3 extra small boxes is being covered by our QRS complex of the ECG. No, the total 0.01 is covered by 0.04 is covered by one small box. Total 5 is being covered by the QRS complex in this condition. Approximately the QRS has been elongated to 0.2 second. So the very large value of this QRS shows that this is due to the blockage of Purkinje fibers, because of blockage of branches of Purkinje fibers. As you can see here, the duration of QRS is also approximately covers 0.5 small boxes. Almost it covers one large box, and one large box in horizontal direction consists of 0.2 second. That's why we have interpreted, diagnosed that the electrocardiography of this patient is suffering from left axis deviation because of the blockage of the main branch of Purkinje fibers. First, I have explained you there are two types of deviation: left axis deviation, right axis deviation. Then I explain you the blockage of left axis deviation. There are two causes of left axis deviation: blockage of left bundle branch or hypertrophy of left ventricle. Then further I explain you there are two causes of right axis deviation: blockage of right bundle branch or hypertrophy of right ventricle. Now I have explained you two electrocardiographies, one representing hypertrophy of left ventricle and one representing blockage of left bundle branch. Now we are going to discuss the two electrocardiography that will confirm or that will increase your knowledge about the blockage of right bundle branch, how right axis deviation occurs, etc. Here is an other electrocardiography ECG, and you have to interpret and you have to calculate, diagnose that from what type of disease patient is suffering from. This is lead 1, lead 2, lead 3. First, what you have to do? You have to determine whether QRS vector of this patient is in the direction of 59 degree or it has been deviated. Then according to its QRS duration, you can calculate or diagnose that from what type of disease patient is suffering from. First thing you have to calculate is this is the normal horizontal line. In lead 1, the QRS complex has become very large and in the negative direction, whereas in normal conditions lead 1 calculate or give us positive deflection. So there is a disease, the first thing. And how much large box it covers? It covers 1 2 3 4 5 approximately large boxes, and 5 large boxes because 3 small boxes here and 2 here. Total 1 2 3 4 5 large boxes has been covered by this lead 1, and only 2 small boxes has been covered in this direction. Overall, what is the value of lead 1 that is giving from this ECG? It gives approximately minus 2.5 milliwatt in negative direction and only 0.2 milliwatt in positive. The result is minus 2.3 milliwatt. So this is the result of lead 1, minus 2.3 milliwatt, whereas lead 2 give us only 2 small boxes in the positive direction. It means that positive 0.2 milliwatt, whereas in the negative direction 3 small boxes and 2 large boxes. In negative it gives us approximately 1.3 milliwatt. And what is the resultant of lead 2? Lead 2 give us approximately minus 0.9 milliwatt, whereas lead 3 gives us approximately 1 2 3 large boxes in positive direction approximately. and from the central line approximately the voltage that is given by our lead 3 is plus 1.5 millivolt. So we have derived different types of values for determining the resultant QRS vector. Now we have obtained these values. Now we are going to calculate or draw our electrocardiographic lead axis and going to calculate the resultant QRS vector of the patient. These are the values that we derive from our given electrocardiography. Lead 1 is giving us minus 2.3 millivolt. If is 1 millivolt, 2 millivolt, lead 1 is giving towards the negative electrode minus 2.3 millivolt is obtained in this direction. Whereas lead 2 is giving us minus 0.9 millivolt, and if this is a positive, this is negative, minus 0.9 millivolt will be here. Now I am drawing falsely, as you know the basic mechanism and process by which you can calculate our resultant QRS vector. Whereas lead 3 is giving us plus 1.5. If this is 1, this is 2, it will give us this 1.5 millivolt. We have to draw the perpendiculars on the arrowheads of these axes. I have drawn the perpendiculars that passes through the axis of lead 1 and arrowhead, the resultant vector that we obtain from our given electrocardiography recording paper on lead 2, lead 3, etc. And they are going to meet at this point. Here as you can see, this is the point. Now we have to draw from the center 0 point and to this to obtain the resultant QRS vector. This will be the resultant QRS vector. Whereas in normal conditions, our QRS vector is deviated towards the 59 angle of 59 degree. Whereas in this condition, it has been deviated to a large extent to the positive. So positive deviation has been occurred in this condition. The first thing we have determined that the patient is suffering from positive deviation. It may be due to blockage or it may be due to blockage of Purkinje fiber branches or may be due to hypertrophy of right ventricle. Some right ventricle hypertrophy occurs congenitally because of the dysfunctioning of pulmonary wall through which the right ventricle pump blood to the lungs because of stenosis, pulmonary wall stenosis. As it becomes narrow and right ventricle has to pump with a large force so that they can pump blood into the our pulmonary circulation to lungs for oxygenation. In this condition, there is a hypertrophy of right ventricle as compared and left ventricle remains same, and there is a deviation of QRS vector to a large extent in this condition. And it is this electrocardiography is because of hypertrophy of our right ventricle, not because of blockage. Because if we start from here, only a little increase of 0.04 second of QRS has been diagnosed, not much larger as you see in blockage of left bundle branch of fiber of left ventricle in previous discussion. So this is the basic process by which you can diagnose the different types of diseases. So my dear students, this was my today's lecture and I try my best to explain you to the best extent on which I can. Axis deviation, left axis, right axis, causes of left axis deviation, two important causes, blockage, hypertrophy, causes of hypertrophy, and how you can diagnose a different electrocardiography, whether a patient is suffering from right axis deviation or left axis deviation, and whether right axis or left axis deviation, how you can differentiate between whether the left axis deviation is because of blockage or because of hypertrophy. So this was today's lecture. In next lecture, we will discuss the remaining different types of abnormalities of our heart cardiac muscles. Hope you best of luck, best wishes. Allah Hafiz, like, subscribe, share. Thank you.